Hello everybody. Welcome to your first lesson on what is science. Alright, make sure that as you're listening to this video, you're going to stop and take notes. You need to have all the text that's on each slide. You also want to write down something that you heard, which may not be written on the slide, and a quick little sketch of the picture. It doesn't have to be any beautiful work of art, but we want you to have a visual memory of what you're learning as well. So here we are, Unit 1, Lesson 1, Video 1. All right, start with the basic question. What is science? Same as the title of the lesson. And we see that science is actually two things. First and foremost, it's a system of knowledge. All right, it's also a method for discovering that knowledge. Let's talk about the system of knowledge first. It's a bunch of information. Okay, you study biology, you study chemistry, you study physics, and that gives you a lot of information about how the world works, a lot of facts, a lot of figures. It gives you an understanding of how those ideas work to explain the world. All right, that system of knowledge also gives you connections between ideas. Biology really is just a subset of chemistry, which is all governed by the laws of physics. Right, so there's connections between ideas, and they help explain processes, how things happen, and theories about why things happen. Right? So science is a lot of information that tries to explain, don't know why that happened, that tries to explain why the world is the way it is and answer questions. Right? So it's a lot of information. It's a lot of stuff to know. But it's also a method for discovering that knowledge. All right? So science is always changing. It's always being updated. All right? Because we keep asking questions and answering those questions and learning more. Therefore, that system of knowledge keeps expanding because we update it. How do we update it? It's through the scientific process, all right? Which asks more questions, and then we test possible explanations and we learn more. So it's a system of knowledge which informs our method of discovery, which produces new knowledge, which gives us new questions to explore and experiment and test, which gives us more information. And so it's a cycle back and forth. All right, pause if you need to. Make sure you've got all the text on the slide and a quick sketch of the picture. Make sure you wrote down something you heard as well. Okay. Next, we talked about the scientific method. All right? There's 6 steps to the scientific method. You need to observe. You need to learn about what you want to experiment with. When you observe, when you look at the natural environment around you, you start to ask questions. Why does this work? How is this connected? And so I need to understand a little bit before I start. That's where the research and observation comes in. Then, once I have a general understanding, I can make a hypothesis about how things are related, how they're connected. Is there cause and effect? Okay? A good hypothesis is in the if X, then Y, because blank format. Okay? It has to do with independent and dependent variables, which we'll get into more in our second lesson. So I'm going to make an educated guess about how I think two things are related. Okay? I make a prediction, and then I test to see if that prediction holds true. I test that through an experiment. I want to run a controlled experiment where the only things that are changing are the things that I want to change. And then I can measure some sort of effect. All right? Once I've done the experiment, I need to collect my data and analyze the results. Once I've done my analysis, I can use that data to draw some conclusions and say, was my hypothesis supported or was it refuted? All right? And then once I have that information, I can communicate it. Now, these are 6 steps over here, but let's take a look at how it actually works. Right? So I do my research, I make some observations, and I ask a question. I'm going to turn that question into a hypothesis. I'm going to take a guess, an educated guess at how to answer that in an if X, then Y, because statement. Right? So I develop that hypothesis. I make a prediction. I test it with an experiment. I collect my data, and if my hypothesis is supported, I then can develop my theory and communicate it to others, or I can go back and modify my hypothesis and learn more with more experiments. If my hypothesis was not supported, we say that it's refuted, then I have to revise my hypothesis, develop a new one, give an alternate explanation, come up with a new experiment. Okay? So this method allows us to learn more and more about our environment through the collection of objective data, unbiased data. In science, we use the data to tell us what's going on, as opposed to relying on anybody's authority, okay, which is the way things were done before science. All right, remember, pause the video, write down the text, draw your picture, record something that you heard. I'm not always going to remind you, but this is the first one. All right, so the sciences, how are they divided? All right, people use the word science a lot, and there's one huge division between the social sciences and the natural sciences. In science class, we're going to be talking about the natural sciences, but I wanted to give you an idea of what the other sciences are. The social sciences. This is the scientific study of society and relationships, using data, using some of the same methods, okay? But in the natural sciences, like physics, chemistry, and biology, okay, we're looking at the natural world. Physics primarily is the study of matter and energy, okay? And a subset of physics, so you get this whole big field of physics, a subset of that is chemistry. How matter interacts with each other, how it reacts, how molecules are made, how atoms are made, that's all chemistry. Now, there's a certain subgroup, smaller category of chemistry, called biochemistry. And these molecules and atoms have biological properties, or the properties we associate with life. Okay? So we're talking about biological molecules in life. Now, biology is a subset of chemistry. Chemistry is a subset of physics. And they all operate on the same rules, the same laws of physics. All right? We're going to get more into this throughout the whole year, but this is the big general game plan. All right? Make sure you've got your notes. Overall, we talked about what is science, what is the scientific method, how is science divided. All right? Your reading assignment for tomorrow is sections 1 and 2. You need to take notes on that template. Remember, your name, date, title, and handwriting matters. All the text on the 3 slides, at least 1 picture, something you heard on each slide, and 3 original thoughts or questions. Okay? If you don't have questions, write down a thought. Make sure it's your own, and I'll see it in class so we can discuss.